Today we have the interview Human of Oseredok, and our guest is Blair Yakimoski. We're welcome you at Oseredok.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell me about a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. I just recently had my 60th birthday, so I could go on for many years about what I've done and what I've been involved with. But in general, I am now a realtor helping people with housing and homes and helping them buy and sell homes. And before that, for work, I was a politician. A lot of people know me as the former member of the Legislative Assembly for Transcona. I was proud to serve in that capacity for a few years. And before that, I was a small businessman or a medium sized businessman. I used to own a grocery store. I owned an IGA store with my family we had it for about 37 years. So was proud to do that. I am married recently for 31 years. Well, not recently married, but we recently celebrated our 31st anniversary, and we have 3 wonderful children, 2 that are here in the city, and one that's living her best life out in Canmore, Alberta. Before all that, I went to University of Winnipeg for a bit before I entered the family business. And when it comes to, we want to connect this with my Ukrainian background, I consider myself a proud Canadian of Ukrainian heritage. My grandfather came here as an orphan back in the early 1900s, and my mom's grandparents came as well around the same time and settled in Saskatchewan, small town Saskatchewan. My mom and dad met here in Winnipeg, and I've been very involved since I was young in the Ukrainian Catholic Church, and then got married in the church, was very involved in Ukrainian dance with Rusalka for many years, and then teaching with my wife for many years. And what else can I say about that? Was fortunate to really appreciate my Ukrainian culture, but also its uniquely Ukrainian Canadian culture when it comes to dance. And then as my children grew up, we enrolled them in the Ukrainian bilingual program here. It was important for us, for the kids, to learn a second language, so we enrolled them for the Ukrainian bilingual program when they were young, to help learn the language, but reinforce the cultures and everything that we really kind of loved that was unique about us.
Okay.
That's a little bit about me. I can go on again, as I said, a long time.
Thank you so much. So you were involved in the Ukrainian community for a long, long time, but why did you want to work at Oseredok as a Ukrainian organization?
I guess one of the things I'd mentioned this before, our culture and our heritage kind of gives us roots of where we come from. And Canada, when I was in high school, Canada is a melting pot. We've got people from all over the place. We talk about it now that this was not our country when people came here. It was the First Nations. We talk about the treaty obligations and things like that we have. But this country really is made up of people from all over the world. And one of the things I love about it, we appreciate, respect, and enjoy other cultures, whether it's food, dance, art. And it really makes what's unique here about where we live. So having grown up with Ukrainian culture in the church and Ukrainian art through dance and music, there is something that touches you because you've always had it there. It's kind of part of your roots, and being able to work with Oseredok and help Oseredok be the central cultural hub of Ukrainian culture in Canada is not just an honor to be a part of it, but it's quite a lofty goal to be able to maintain what we have, and especially with what's happening on in the world right now and in Ukraine right now, to be able to say, this is what we are, this is what we have, we're proud of it, and we want that to continue. That's kind of, I was asked to be a part of the board when I was no longer a politician, and I was honored to serve as part of the board. And I have some ideas of how we can continue to make Oseredok, again, the hub. When I was a politician, in politics, when you're a legislator, one of the things you get to do that's a little bit more fun is called the private member statement. Private member statement means you get to get up and talk about anything you want to talk about in the ledge for a minute to 2 minutes, 2 minutes in the provincial legislature. So if I wanted, I could get up and talk about how much I love my wife and how wonderful she is, and that would get me brownie points at home. So you can talk about anything. So the first member statement I did was actually about Oseredok, about how it is, as I've said, the cultural hub, and whether it be dance, music, art, architecture, language. This can be a place that we can have a connection to everything. So
I'd like to ask you, how did you first hear about Oseredok?
Oh, I don't know. It's always been here. Oseredok's always been here. As far as I can remember, and it hasn't always been here, because I know when they bought, I don't even know how many years ago they bought this building and created it here. I don't know that, but for much of my adult life, this was always kind of that place, that Ukrainian place downtown. And I didn't know much about it. And there's a lot of people that are my mom's age that still know about that Ukrainian place downtown that, yeah, I don't know what happens there. I think it's maybe a library, or they don't really know that we have an art gallery, or some know about the boutique. So in my case, as I became more involved with Ukrainian dance in my 20s, I really knew that Oseredok was one of the major cultural institutions we have here in Manitoba. There were the different choirs, the dance groups. There was UCC, there's Carpathia Credit Union, there was Oseredok, which was kind of different and on the side because I didn't deal with it on a regular basis. So I've always known about it.
Mm-hmm. So it was always a part of, okay. And do you remember your first time at Oseredok? Or how you walked in here, and what was your feeling about Oseredok?
My first time in here, I know I came here many years ago, probably to the boutique. But my first time really coming in and taking a look here was within the last 5 years when I was an elected official. And probably before that member statement, I came down and had a bit of a tour and looked at what was here. And I, at the time, had no clue all that was here. The multi-pronged institute that we are. You know, I can do the commercial right now that we're a museum, we're an art gallery, we're a boutique, we're a library. Oh, there's something else there.
Archives.
Archives. Oh, I've seen the archives. Oh, I've glanced at the archives. And actually, no, here, my first real being part of Oseredok would have been in 1987. 1987, pretty good? You
Precise.
Like in 1987, Rusalka Ukrainian Dance Ensemble turned 25 years old. So we had, I believe, maybe on the second floor, I'm not sure, we had a display commemorating the 25th anniversary of Rusalka. So we had an opening, a wine and cheese, and I assisted kind of on the outside of some of the people who were preparing that. On some of the tours that I was on, I was very involved as a photographer back then, so a lot of the pictures I had were being used. So being here and seeing that part of my life was being put up in this place. Yeah, I was a little awestruck by that. That was cool. That was an amazing event. Now that I think about it, yeah, I can remember it very well with the burgundy and silver balloons everywhere and all sorts of displays. So that would have been the first major event I went to.
I love that you have a long journey with Oseredok and you remember events that were like a long time ago and they were different, I guess. And also regarding your favorite memory from Oseredok and favorite event at Oseredok.
Favorite memory and event.
You can start from the event, I guess.
You know what? The Rusalka event in 1987 would have been, now that I think about it, and really it's not front and center. And again, I just forgot about it till we just remembered it. That was spectacular and amazing. I would have been 25 years old as well. Had a lot of fun. And then more recently, the first time I spoke about Oseredok in the Manitoba legislature. Speaking about your life and something like this that touches you in such a place is humbling. It's humbling that I got to do it. And then the 75th anniversary gala, which was on multi-floors, and I was on the board at that time, was a pretty cool event.
You as a part of Ukrainian community, as a proud Canadian of Ukrainian heritage, what is the power of being Ukrainian?
What is the power of being Ukrainian?
Well, the power of Ukrainians.
Again, when we've got Ukrainians here in Canada, I guess you've got different tiers of Ukrainians. We're all Canadian. We're all Canadian. We're those of Ukrainian culture that really live, eat, and breathe Ukraine. You know, the new Canadians that will be coming here will be very, very strongly connected to their homeland in their diet and in their life and perhaps how they do things. We're already seeing a bit of that. But then you've got those people that are a little bit older that are born and raised here but love their culture. And then you've got those people that have a Ukrainian name and are proud to be Ukrainian. So what is the power? It depends on what level. We're all Canadians and we're all proud of our freedoms and we're all proud of what our country has and what our country offers to other people. As Ukrainians of Canadian heritage, especially now, we think of our power as our resilience to, we have seldom been allowed the freedom we deserve that we've always wanted. At least in my generation growing up, it was always a part of the Soviet Union. I don't know much of the history, previous to that, but proud, strong, wanting freedom. I believe the power of Ukrainian is resilience, standing up and always desiring the freedom to make choices. That's kind of the big picture. What else of our power? Vareniki.
I expected it.
Everybody says that.
What have you learned during your time volunteering here?
That to effectively run a really large organization like this, you need a whole lot of different voices. And you need to really ask people to come and help. What have I learned? I was always proud of my history and my culture. Have I learned to become more proud? Maybe. I learned anything else from my time here? We all kind of want the same thing. When I was a politician, it was the same sort of thing. When I was a politician, there are different parties here in Manitoba. But no matter what party you belong to, you all want the same thing. You want a better community. You want a better Manitoba. You want a better Winnipeg. You want a better Canada. We all have different ideas how to get there or what would make it better. And the same thing is with Oseredok and the board of directors. It's nice that we have and continue to have, we have some new board members that will bring new ideas to say, here's maybe in the direction we can go, or here's what we can grow. And it may work and it may not. And so you've got to have that resilience that sometimes if your idea doesn't work, you either try it again, if you really believe in it, and you convince other people to help you in that way. But I'm sure the differing voices we've got a lot of Canadians here that have a variety of experiences in so many different places that can benefit this place on the board of directors. So I guess learning to really work with a varied group of varied ideas. Whereas when I was in politics and you're on a single team, the orange team, the blue team, or the red team, we're all kind of thinking the same way. We have to think the same way. Here's our idea. And unfortunately, in politics, in much of the Western world, my team thinks we should do this, and the other team thinks we should do the other. And it's like, no, mine's better. I'm not taking any of yours. Unfortunately, it's so polarized. We see it in the United States. We see it in Great Britain. We see it in Canada. Your ideas are wrong. They're really not wrong. They're different. And oseredok here, it's not, there's ideas that aren't as good as others. We all work together to agree on what the best ones are from different points of view.
Yeah, so like different people bring different things to the table, and we'll make it work.
Yep.
You mentioned, I want to talk about.
So you said you were done. We got more?
No, I have one more.
Bonus question. You answered that one correctly. Now there's a bonus question.
Yes, this is actually interesting. That's going to help us to improve Oseredok, regarding demographics of Oseredok, you mentioned that you have 3 kids, which were involved in Ukrainian community and which are involved, I think, in Ukrainian community.
2 of the 3.
2 of the 3.
So 2 of the 3, my children that are here are still involved in the Rusalka. My daughter, who lives in Alberta, in Canmore, is proud of her Ukrainian culture, proud of wearing her vyshyvanka, but there's not a Ukrainian community there. But she's very proud of her Ukrainian Canadian heritage. And given the chance, if there's a Zabava, she'll be there.
Yeah, that's fair. How did you involve your children in the Ukrainian community? How did you show them it's important to stay connected to your culture and stay connected to your heritage?
I don't think I've ever said it's important to them. It's just something they get to decide, whether it be their faith, whether it be their culture, whether it be what they do for fun, and whether it be their friends. They get to decide all those things. They don't get to decide their family, so that's me. I'm their family. But whether I'm their friend, they get to decide. So when it comes to their culture, between raising them in the church, Ukrainian bilingual program, Ukrainian dance, now that I still sing in a choir, and I was very proud that my daughter was the MC at Cave Pavilion yesterday, and she said she's the biggest fan of Melos Folk Ensemble because my dad sings in it. So by being part of the group over the years, the 2 that are still here may stay very strongly connected to the Ukrainian culture because their friends are. So our community, not the Winnipeg community, not the Manitoba community, but really the Manitoba Ukrainian community that my kids hang out with, which is one of their groups that they have. You got your work people and you've got your high school people and things like that. They may stay very, very involved with it, but you never know what'll happen if one of my children finds a job elsewhere and has to go, and there's less of that. I think what will happen is they may fall away from it, but it'll be always, as I said from the beginning, part of their roots. So it might be something, let's say my child has to go work in another country where there's very little. Well, my guess is Sviatvecher will still happen perhaps there. And I hope that perhaps they, find a church that they can celebrate there. And they'll be, hopefully when they come home and they can participate in something Ukrainian that they're familiar with, it'll resurrect those old memories and it'll be part of it. Growing up being Ukrainian Canadian, I was fortunate when I got into Rusalka and when I had my business, I did a bit of traveling for both. And then when I was a politician, I've been able to travel some places in Canada. And so I've been to the Caribbean, I've been to China and Australia. Australia was fun. I went with Tirsa Choir. There's a bit of it's a small but much more um, at the time Ukrainian community, but this is that's 30 or 40 years ago. That's a long time ago. But having traveled, I've been to all those things. Ukraine was not really a place that I really wanted to go. Kind of went, yeah, it's part of my culture. It's part of my heritage. Rusalka planned a trip with Chai Folk Ensemble to go to Israel for 9 days and Ukraine for 9 days. And it's like, okay, well, it'll be cool. And when we went to Israel, so it's the birthplace of our Christian faith, and that was amazing. And it's like, okay, now we're going to Ukraine. We had to tell the people from Chai, okay, it's going to be less cultural, because I imagine Ukraine kind of like out in the country, Manitoba, really. And you've got some hills and riding mountains sort of thing. But we told them when they were going to Ukraine, there's going to be a lot more socializing, a lot more eating, and a lot more drinking. And oh, did they like it. But myself, when I went there, I was told by a friend of mine here, he goes, you're going to feel like you belong. He goes, you're going to see people that for some reason they look like family to you. They look like your uncle or anything like that. It was a beautiful place. We went to Lviv, Ternopil, Chernivtsi, Bukovel, and Kiev. And I was really, really fortunate to go when I went in 2019 because it's changed. It's changed so substantially. And after we came back, it's like, yeah, Israel and the Middle East would be really cool to go see again, but I really want to go back to Ukraine. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So because of that, if I can continue to help and be a part of this, it is an honor and